Roc Bellantoni is back. Auburn has another backup quarterback. It's the offseason, but there's no shortage of storylines. Midweek Report brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. Check them out in Opelika or in the Birmingham area, 1510 2nd Ave in Opelika, Alabama, 2616 7th Ave in Birmingham, Alabama. They got axe throwing like up there in Birmingham. So if you're looking to get some rage out, I don't know what you'd be raging about if you're watching Auburn basketball right now. Not a whole lot to rage about. But look, Alabama still exists, and if they make you mad randomly, go over to the Rage Room and throw some stuff. Again, visit them in Opelika or in Birmingham. Great title sponsors. Guys, join as a member. We had a post-game reaction show. We got pre-games. We've got a lot of great content going for you guys that is member exclusive. So become a part of the Green Name Gang by hitting that join button. Also, give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. It's a great program YouTube has started to help you share what we got going on here with your fellow War Report subscribers. So that gifted membership is given to people who interact with our channel at a high level but haven't made the decision to become a member of the Green Name Gang yet. So if that $5.99 a month is something that you're thinking about, check your email. You might be on the receiving end of one of those memberships. Our friends at Los Amigos are sponsoring this segment. Check them out at 1220 Fox Run Ave, Suite 200 in Opelika, Alabama. If you're in the mood for some Mexican food, Los Amigos has you covered. Clean eats over there. They got 100 on the Hill score. Great members of the community. Also a great place to watch the game. TVs everywhere, fantastic queso, and I personally recommend the burrito. Los Amigos restaurant. They've been telling us that you guys have been going in there and telling the manager that you found them on the War Report. Let's keep that up. Also, this episode of the War Report is brought to you by friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com and use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something to bring you back down to where you need to be. Again, rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT. I got Richard over there, longtime sponsor, great sponsor, leaving a little note for our friends at the War Report when they stop by to place an order. Ike, it's that time. It's the offseason, and things are still happening on the plains. Our friend Matt Zenitz is all over the place with the Tanner Burns news. First, he gives a promotion.
Right.
Now he's leaving.
Right.
And Coach Roc is coming back. Before we get into Coach Roc's return to the Plains, I want to talk about this. Let's put a bow on this thing with Tanner Burns. It seems as if he had a great opportunity to go work with a friend over at Texas State. Right. And it was definitely a promotion in responsibility for him. I'm happy for Tanner. It sounds like a good move all around for him personally and professionally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he wanted to be able to advance his career. This was an opportunity for him to go and do it. And I'm never mad at somebody who wants to do that. And I mean, listen, man, if the way that the Auburn fan base was responding had any indication, he probably feels just fine leaving. Because good grief, man.
Oh my goodness. The comments were brutal.
Brutal. Yeah, brutal is the right word for it. I don't think he was tagged in the initial tweet from Zenitz, because his mentions would have been unforgiving. I just don't know, man.
I just feel like I understand everybody's frustration with special teams.
Yeah.
I don't know that what I will call vitriol towards him is warranted, though. Like, I'm having a hard time understanding this reaction to this. look, if you thought it was time for a change, I can't say that I fault you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, wow, some of these comments are crazy, just like good riddance type comments.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Against Tanner
good
Burns.
riddance is basically the general sentiment, putting it mildly. So, um, I don't know, man. Like I said, I understand why people are not fans of his, but again, I think that some of the, like, when you ask people to explain their reasoning and then they start saying stuff, and I'm like, I don't know that that makes sense. Like, I hear you, but I don't know that that makes sense. So
Mm, no,
it is what it is, man. Listen, I am glad for him. I think Auburn got a good one in return, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. And there's so many good things that are happening during the offseason, momentum wise, for this Auburn team. Hopefully, it translates to the field, though.
yeah, absolutely. But somebody who's familiar with special teams at Auburn returns, and Coach Roc Bellantoni, he is back on the plains. His wife actually tweeted out, so happy to be back. She tweeted like a picture of her sons and said that they're happy to be screaming "War Damn Eagle" again.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Roc Bellantoni returning to the plains? I feel like this is a good transition in for to replace that position with Coach Roc. And from what I understand, they wanted to try to find a way to keep him. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
So this was a really, really easy decision for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, I mean, I think, he was a guy that was well liked around the locker room. He's far from like a smash hire, right? Like, I think he's got good relationships in the state of Florida with some guys, but you look at his recruiting profile, he doesn't have like the most impressive profile or anything like that. But he is, from the accounts of players who were here while he was here, a technician that really can help get some of the technique stuff down better for some of the guys that they have. And I don't, there's a lot of talent already on the roster, so I don't know that he needs to come in and be a smash recruiter, but there definitely needs to be people who are working to refine the whole room and get them in a better place. So hopefully that will be what Roc is able to do. And you never are going to be bad as a staff when you have good guys in the room. And Roc, by all accounts, is a good guy.
Yeah, look, the player feedback on this has been great. And for what it's worth, his first go around, I had nothing but great feedback about Coach Roc. I think it's awesome that he's returning. Again, if you're Hugh Freeze, you got to plug and play here, Ike. You have to get this going and start focusing on coaching ball. Look, man, you're going to have turnover on staff. It's going to happen. And every coach has to be built to deal with it. I feel like Coach Freeze did what the simplest thing he could have done here and bringing Coach Roc back, but it was a decision that he wanted to make the first go around. Again, they didn't want to get rid of him. They didn't want to let him walk. So that's important information here, I believe, on Coach Roc. I wonder sometimes if you're the if you're like John Allen McGuire and you were recruited by Tanner Burns, how are you feeling about this suddenly now? As soon as you just moved into the dorm, and then bam, your position coach that recruited you is gone.
Right.
So I'm sure that he had a good enough relationship to be able to talk to these guys on the way out, explain to them why he was taking this position. It's a business. I think they get it. I honestly think they get it. But at the end of the day, Coach Roc feels a need for you and maybe satisfies some of the fan. Maybe it satisfies the mob, at least to some extent, here on Tanner Burns, because boy, man, the way it was headed, man, I don't know. So
yeah, people were very, very upset at everything involving the name Tanner Burns. And Roc was here again when his brother was at Auburn, right? Speaking of John Allen McGuire, like, his brother was at Auburn during Roc's time, so maybe they already had a relationship there anyway, so it wasn't as big a thing. Because he's going to be helping out with special teams potentially. I think they might still go get like an analyst or something that's going to be specifically doing special team stuff. I don't know. The way that these college football staffs are being put together now, I can't keep up with the army of analysts that they have patrolling the sidelines now. But Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him back on the sidelines again. Genuinely good dude, Roc Bellantoni. I've never had a personal conversation with him. Again, this is me hearing things from players who had the opportunity to be coached by him. So, again, I'm not mad at that, and hopefully he will be a good asset for the edge group that needs to go out there and harass quarterbacks. Man, we talked about this before. You know, that third and long scenario, that's when you're going to see that those are the money downs. Is the group that Roc is going to be coaching going to be out there and causing havoc for offenses?
Yeah, I agree. Look, he's got a lot of talent to work with. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
When you're talking about defense and special teams, I feel good about anybody coming in coaching under Durkin right now. Like Durkin has it organized. He's got it ready to go, and they've got to take step forwards on defense here. So if Roc can add to that, I think, which I certainly think he can. He's a professional. He's well liked. He's a player's coach. I think that they have a chance to move things forward here. But look, any other staffing changes? I know you've got your ears to the ground on some of this stuff. Should Auburn be expecting any more staffing changes between now and spring? I think the staff should be kind of settled by this
I
point.
hope it is. I mean, at this point in time, you really want to be in the mode of kind of understanding who your staff is and getting prepared for what you're going to be doing during the spring. This is going to be Coach Hugh Freeze's third season, but the first repeat season of having both of the coordinators, right, your offensive and defensive coordinators in successive seasons, right? So it's going to be the first time that you've had this level of continuity in your staff, because you've noted DJ Durkin being the very process oriented and detailed guy. Him having small turnover with some of the guys shouldn't be as huge a deal, because he should have that process together. And there's no turnover on the offensive side, so there should be a marked improvement in the performance on the field this year, because there's very little excuses. Again, you've eliminated literally every excuse that you can possibly have. You've got the same staff, so you should all be working together from a same type of playbook, even if you want to add some wrinkles, but you should have the same kind of basic playbook structure together. You've got the same defensive guys or coordinators involved in all those things. You should be able to hit the ground running, and you've got a buttload of talent to at your disposal. So no excuses this year. Go out there and ball out on the field. I don't want to hear it, bro. I really don't.
Yeah, and having these guys in place for recruiting, March 3rd through the 14th, prospects can visit campus. April 14th through May 24th, coaches can travel. It's you need to have your guys in place to get ready to hit the recruiting trail when that window opens. And there's a second portal window as well too. You need your coaches in place. You need to be able to show recruits what they're walking into. On the other side of it, Ike, Auburn added a quarterback,
Yeah.
Tanner Bailey.
Yep. One
Auburn
Tanner leaves and another one comes into the door.
Right.
From Burns to Bailey.
Auburn turned over their entire quarterback room.
Yes.
A very odd situation for any program to turn over everybody. So you need roles. And I said this with our friend Zach Blackerby over at Locked on Auburn. Auburn doesn't really have competition to sell, in my opinion. They've got roles at quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold, congratulations, you are the starter.
Yeah.
Ashton Daniels, congratulations, you may be the backup.
Right. The competition, I think, is going to be for QB2, right? And how well does Deuce Knight get himself into a position to be able to be the guy at QB2 while Ashton Daniels is not here? And if he's not ready, then Ashton should just come in and say, all right, cool, I'm going to be the stopgap until Deuce is ready.
There's nobody to take reps from Deuce until May.
Right.
Really? So this is an advantageous, I think, situation for Deuce Knight. You are the highly heralded 5-star quarterback, and you got a chance to come in here and make a splash. It's going to be about absorbing the system. Again, you've watched a ton of film. You talk all the time about how hard a system this is for quarterbacks to absorb. Hugh Freeze's system is. So if you're Deuce Knight, your head's in a playbook right now from now until the beginning of spring practice. making sure you understand what these coaches expect you to do. And if he can do that, I mean, I don't know. You've got another guy. You got a guy who's played college football. He's started real games, thrown for over 2,500 yards in Ashton Daniels, but he's not the future of this program. You are the future of this program.
Right.
Yeah, he's here to be a backup, essentially break in case of emergency. But that doesn't. He can fall to QB3. I don't think that Deuce Knight as QB2 is out of the question this season. And looking at back what happened with Walker White, I think for both Deuce and for Auburn, you can't afford for Deuce to fall into a. He can't be relegated into a third string scout team role for the entire season. He's got to get real reps, Ike, I think, this season as the backup. So he should be splitting QB2 snaps all the way through the fall, in my opinion, getting ready to take the reins next year if something happens with Jackson Arnold, or like to be the clear QB2 and the heir apparent in 2027 after Jackson Arnold is done here and moved on. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's the plan, but that's completely up to Deuce Knight and how much he's ready to be in that position. Unlike Walker White, there's nobody standing in between him and doing that, right? Like when Walker White got here as a true freshman last year, Hank Brown and Holden Gerner were standing right there, as potential guys in between him and playing time, and the way that you have to separate yourself in practice is we've been talking with quarterbacks about this for years, about kind of the way in which you are able to separate yourself in practice. And a lot of that has to do with how you show up, not just how good you are, but how you show up, your habits of going and watching film, your habits of really what is perceived to be kissing butt of the coaches, right? And just being there in the coach's office and asking a bunch of questions, like teacher's pet type of stuff. A lot of that stuff matters. It's unfortunate that there's a political side to trying to figure out how to ingratiate yourself to coaches at this level, but it happens. And so you have to be able to do that sort of thing. And the fortunate thing for Deuce Knight is there's nobody there in between him and who are you competing with? Jackson Arnold's going to be the guy, and literally Tanner Bailey's not going to come in and take snaps from Deuce Knight in the spring. It's not going to happen. Tanner Bailey barely was playing football even when he was on the football team. I think he got like one series his entire collegiate career or something like that when he was at South Carolina. And that's not to say he's not talented, but he's not Deuce Knight, right? So Deuce Knight right now has the clearest path for any freshman quarterback not named Bo Nix probably in the last 10 years at Auburn football.
Yeah. Tanner Bailey is a cool story to me. Lifelong Auburn. I think his dad
played for Auburn. Yeah.
Played for Auburn. And, at the end of the day, again, he was sold a role. He came back to Auburn to be a student.
Yeah.
And, look, man, I hope they gave him a scholarship, because that's a whole semester of school paid for right there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is on scholarship because they had the scholarship to give. So
it makes a ton of sense for him. Again, you don't have competition to sell this year at Auburn. You have roles. Here is your role, Tanner Bailey, and you do need. I think it's an advantage to have a scout team quarterback, a 4-string quarterback with as much college practice experience as Tanner Bailey has.
He's probably been running scout teams for like 2 or 3 years.
Oh God,
so, yeah. So he knows exactly what to do. And again, like you said, they sold him on a roll. Hey, I don't need you to come in and be the savior of my program. I need you to come in and be my scout team quarterback and get Deuce Knight ready to be QB2 out here. Show him how to go through practice the right way. Show him how to watch film. Show him how to blah, blah, blah. And he's going to be like really kind of like a coach out there on the field, kind of helping these. And I mean, people kind of forget Jackson Arnold's a young quarterback as well.
Yeah, he is a very young quarterback. Yeah.
So having an older, more experienced guy in the room is nothing but able that is not there to compete with you. They're literally just there to help. They should just embrace all of the help that he's going to be able to bring them, because that's the reason that he's there. And so I kind of like this move, man. Again, it doesn't really help you depth wise. So if you could get into trouble, you can't go anywhere with this really, like unless Tanner is
You're
gonna
going to Deuce.
become.
You're going to Deuce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying like if you get injuries and Deuce isn't ready, Tanner's not going to be ready to do that, and you just hope Ashton Daniels can come in and be the guy. But like this doesn't help you from a depth perspective, but it definitely helps you to be able to get your quarterback room in a better place.
I wonder if Auburn is in a situation similar to Florida, how they started with Mertz, but then ended with DJ Lagway, right? Is there a chance that Deuce
Yeah. I mean, well,
developed in, you know what I
the Mertz
mean?
situation is a little bit different, right? Because he got injured, right? And so injury is really what paved the way for Lagway. Lagway was kind of coming in, and they were doing a little bit of the 2 QB situation there for a minute.
Yeah.
Auburn fans are going to lose their ever loving crap if Auburn goes to a 2 QB situation. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense when your QB1 can run and pass, right? Like Mertz wasn't much of a runner, Lagway was, so there was a little change of pace. I think the quarterbacks are too similar for that to make a ton of sense to have 2 quarterbacks coming in, because physical tools are not going to be an issue for Jackson Daniels, right? Like
Right.
Jackson Arnold, he can run, he's got the big arm. So it's not like there's not much that from a physical standpoint that Arnold can't do that Deuce Knight can. It's really going to be about who's playing better.
Interesting.
But if Arnold doesn't play well, then you absolutely say, hey, man, we need a spark. But this is where I'm going to be paying attention next year. Will he be willing to pull the trigger? He did it last year, and then stick with the decision to say, this isn't working. We're going to the new guy, and we're going to let him work through the tough times.
If you believe the rumors about how much money was flying around in NIL to get Jackson Arnold here. I almost said Jackson Dart. Screw that guy. I wonder again, and this is why I say, to me, this year at least, you're not selling competition, you're selling roles.
Right.
Right. Jackson Arnold is clearly going to be the starter, I think, barring just a complete collapse on his part or an inability to be able to function as a human being. And then behind him, you're trying to flesh that out. Is it Deuce Knight? Is it Ashton Daniels?
Right.
I think preferably you want Deuce to take that if you're Coach Hugh
For sure.
Freeze.
100%.
Right?
You want Deuce Knight to be clearly number 2 and Ashton Daniels to be clearly number 3. Whether you got to sell it on he just didn't have the time, blah, whatever. But Deuce needs to be a guy that you're ready to turn the keys over to in case Jackson Arnold's not getting it done.
Yeah, ideally, I think that's where you'd like to find yourself. Ashton Daniels is here to set a safe floor just in case Deuce doesn't make that jump.
Right.
He's an insurance policy, right? He adds some depth and he adds experience as well, too, I think, to the conversation. A guy who should be able, he was not going to be blinded by the lights. He's not, he's going to be able to go out there and throw the football around like he's done it before in front of a large crowd. And look, man, Deuce, I think you don't get rated as highly as he is if you can't handle the pressure. But it can be a little bit of a psychological game for young quarterbacks. And every coach goes through this with their young quarterback about whether it's too early to throw them out there,
right.
And you risk rattling their confidence. And sometimes it's a hard thing to get back. So everything we know about about Deuce Knight is that he's super talented, but maybe somewhat of a project. When Auburn was doing the dance with Deuce Knight and people thought that Juju Lewis might come, it was thought that Juju was more ready to play than Deuce was right now.
Right. That's what that was definitely a prevailing narrative out there.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll tell you this, I don't know that Juju is the more talented quarterback overall, though. Very talented guy. Yeah. And we're talking about, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm crapping on one or the other. I'm just saying these are two extremely talented QBs.
I think if you watch tape on him, you can see from physical tool standpoint that Deuce Knight is the more physically gifted guy. I think he has a bigger arm. I think he's a bigger kid in general, just in his build. And, I think he might have a little bit better ability to run as well. So he gives you more of a dual threat element, and he still has the big arm. The question is whether or not he's got the ability to, to make those pinpoint accurate, because that was the thing that people liked about Juju, is like he apparently had just really good accuracy in high school. And Deuce Knight is really more of he's kind of a boom or bust project, right? Like he's either going to be really good or he's going to be woefully inadequate based upon where he was rated coming out of high school.
Right. So very, very interesting conversation surrounding quarterback. But if you're Auburn, you have to get this right this year. Hopefully Jackson Arnold is everything that you hoped him to be when you gave him whatever you gave him to get him here. We know now he asked Peyton Thorne, can I win there?
Right.
And Peyton told him, yes, you can win at Auburn. And so I think when you look at what happened on the field last year, that holds true. You can win here.
Right.
And they are just
you got all the tools to do it. You literally have all the talent. You've got you're fully resourced. You just need at this point in time, you just need the coach to put you in the right positions to make the right decisions and then go out there and execute it.
That's a fact. And you've got probably one of the most promising receiver rooms in the country.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an understatement.
No, there's talent all over the field, man.
Yeah. I tweeted this. I don't know if you remember this, but LSU fans were all up in arms. But this room with Perry Thompson and Cam Coleman and Keandre Lambert-Smith and some of these guys, I said that I thought in a few years that those guys had a chance to be 2019 LSU good in the receiver room. Jamar Chase, Jefferson. I mean, obviously those guys were just absolute ballers, but you're not telling me that Cam Coleman isn't Jefferson good. He's that good. He's got that kind of talent. I think Perry Thompson, could go out there and ball like Jamar Chase eventually. Is there going to be enough opportunity for those guys to catch the ball and show that they can be that? It was headed the right direction last year. You just have to get those receptions up in the 60s, 70s, 80s. 50 receptions is cool. It's good. It's a move. It's a step in the right direction. But for the level of talent and what we've seen, the precedent that's being set by the top 2 or 3 receivers in our league the last few years, if you're under, I would say 70 receptions, it's going to be really, really hard to do. Yeah. These guys are getting, what's the guy's name? I always blow his name. The leading receiver at LSU, Neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Malik,
right.
Talking about last year, not this passing, but the season before, Malik Neighbors.
Yeah. And you look at him and Thomas, both those guys were like 80 plus receptions.
Yeah.
Right. If not 90s. And so if you can have 2 guys with that many receptions in the room, opportunities are going to abound everywhere, but you need a guy who can get them the ball. Is that Jackson Arnold? Is it Deuce Knight? Does Ashton Daniels have that sort of capability in this system? Even Ashton, I think at Stanford, he's got a 2,800-yard season under his belt, does he not?
Who Daniels does?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure Ashton Daniels has a 2,800-yard season under his belt. This is the guy who
had been in the old Pac-12.
Okay, I lied. It was 2,200 yards in 2023.
Yeah,
on 1,700
still old Pac-12
last year. Yeah, right. Okay, so on 325 attempts in that 2023 season. So, and that's not a ton of attempts in today's college football. Again, if you're not flirting with 400 attempts in a season, again, 2024 last year, only 1,700 yards, but only 271 attempts, 62.7% completion percentage. Don't love the touchdowns versus the interceptions. 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions is crazy terrible. But it's all about what you're asking them to do. And I think you brought him in here to be a piece. And if Damari Alston is toting the rock the way we know he can and securing that football, that takes a lot of the pressure off of your quarterbacks as well too. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I think Auburn is in a good position this spring to have some things flesh out. You don't need a ton of reps to see what Ashton Daniels is. There's plenty of tape on him.
Yeah.
right? You need
Yeah.
those reps right now to go to Deuce. And so in some ways, I think they're lucky that Ashton's not here for the spring, and it's just going to be Jackson and Deuce.
Yeah, and I mean, Deuce is in a super advantageous position to be able to have the runway clear, and hopefully he's ready to take advantage of it. And again, I like the addition of Bailey because it just helps to have another kind of ear out there to help you get that stuff together. And if he's open to that kind of stuff, then he's going to be in a really good position to be ready to take over the reins when it's his turn. And it's going to be soon, one way or the other. Either you're going to get a awful situation from your starter and he has to take over midseason, or you're going to get an amazing situation from your starter and he goes to the league and you're ready to go as a redshirt freshman. So it's going to be right in his lap before he's ready for it. Pause.
Yeah. Look, great conversation. Always fun when we're talking quarterbacks and offense. But look, let's get to the break here. We're going to talk a little Auburn basketball right after we take some of you guys' comments and a quick word from our sponsors. Guys, this is the Midweek Report. Share this video on social media using @TheWarReport and hashtag Get Your Weight Up so people know where to find us. Also, hit like and subscribe on the channel. You know the deal. You know how this helps us. We are still trying to climb those YouTube ranks, and we need your help to do it. So every like, every comment, even if it's just the War Damn Eagle in the comments after the video, it helps. I know from my womb broom comment that you guys are watching these things all the way through the middle, at least. So keep doing that. Also, we're on social media @The War Report on X and Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. Ike, we're going to get to the break here. And when we come back, we're going to take your comments and then we're going to talk a little Auburn basketball.
This edition of The War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageRoom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
Our title sponsor, the Rage Room. Visit them in Opelika or in Birmingham. In Opelika, they're at 1510 2nd Ave. And in Birmingham, they're at 2616 7th Ave, Birmingham, Alabama. There are lots of great stuff going on at the Rage Room. Longtime sponsors of the War Report. We appreciate our guy, Alex, for sponsoring us. Please go visit them and let them know that the War Report sent you. Look, joy to the world. Auburn basketball has come. And Joy Mode is there to make sure that you enjoy every second of Auburn basketball's victories, however you celebrate. Maybe you need a little help from Joy Mode. Visit tryjoymode.com and use code REPORT to get 20% off plus free shipping. Imagine a supplement like your favorite greens pack that you put in 6 to 8 ounces of water 45 minutes before you need a victory on the court, and bam, Joy Mode has you covered. Again, tryjoymode.com. Use code REPORT to get 20% off plus free shipping. And before you have all the joy, make sure that you're well manicured down there with our friends at Manscaped. Visit manscaped.com and use code REPORT to get 20% off plus free shipping on your Manscaped order. Whether it's the boys downstairs or whatever you got going on the beard, Manscaped has you covered with a product that will help you keep clean and trim this new year. So look, guys, join over 11 million men worldwide who have made the decision to use Manscaped with their personal grooming and care. Manscaped.com. Again, use code REPORT to get a 20% off plus free shipping on your order. Our friends at Vintage 2298 are there for you if you're in the Auburn Opelika area looking for some fine dining. Our guy Chef Randall Baldwin is serving up some of the best food you will ever eat anywhere in the world. But definitely in the Auburn Opelika area. Please go visit them at 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. Let's get to your comments here. Appreciate everybody for joining us today. Ben Bloodworth says, did Walker White ever make the Baylor transfer official? He did.
Yes, he did.
He did. He is a Baylor Bear. I'm
I'm sad about it, but happy that young man is in a situation he feels is advantageous for him. Ben Bloodworth also says South Carolina looking supremely beatable. Finish the job and get that #1 spot. Auburn.
This game is so sloppy, man. Like, good grief. I just don't even know what's happening right now. I haven't watched South Carolina play, but like maybe a couple of minutes of another game.
Okay.
And it didn't look this, it's been looking sloppy this entire game. And I'm trying to figure out, is this because that Bama's making it so frantic, or is South Carolina just a sloppy team? I'm like, this is not good basketball I'm watching over here.
I've got 65-50 right now at the media timeout. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So agree with Ben there. Yes,
definitely a beatable team. Honestly, Auburn has, and we'll talk about basketball in a minute. Auburn's had a pretty easy ramp up into this. They haven't played any tough teams yet. All the three teams they've played have been the most beatable teams. Well, now the third one, South Carolina, the most beatable teams in the conference, not named LSU, because I think LSU is probably in the bottom.
You're losing by 15, and you've given up 17 points off turnovers. If you're South Carolina, man, take care of the ball, dude.
It's such a sloppy game, bro. Like, I'm like, what are y'all doing out here?
Anthony Long says we need improvements in the W column. Statistically, we're much improved in 2024, but it was the most frustrating season that I can remember. The wins didn't track with the statistics, certainly.
For sure.
There was improvement all over the field offensively, but Cam Coleman and his yards and touchdowns, Keandre Lambert-Smith, if Auburn had a bowl game, he's a 1,000-yard receiver. Peyton Thorne, if he doesn't get benched, he's a 3,000-yard passer. Good God, man. It just
1,200 yards from your running back. Like, there's a lot of production on that offense, but just inability to close drives is the end of the day. It's the turnovers and the special teams, which people, Tanner Burns, he's gone. Now all of a sudden people are going to be able to kick again. Apparently let Auburn fans tell it. And just crazy play calls that from time to time in the red zone put you in a position where you're just not scoring points, but you're not giving up a bunch of points. So win a couple of those games that were one possession or got stretched to like 10 points late, and different outlook going into this season. But right now everybody's still in panic mode.
Absolutely. Eric M says, if there's no pushing QB1, does that get the best out of him?
That's fair. But apparently Coach Hugh Freeze is fine with not pushing QB1 because he doesn't want him to press in practice. I don't understand what QB. Maybe QB competition is a thing, but like also you hear about clarity about who the quarterback is at the same time, right? Like, who the guy is going in, everybody can rally behind him. So I'm kind of up in the air about it. Like, what I do want though is enough competency at QB2 that you feel okay. If QB1 isn't getting the job done, we can turn it over. QB1 gets injured, we can turn the job over and feel okay about that. I just don't know that Auburn's been in a position that they can truly feel good about who their second quarterback is, enough to say this guy could have been a starter for us. He's just not ready right now, type of thing. Because that's just not been the case. No matter how bad the QB1 has played, and this predates Hugh Freeze, Auburn ain't getting rid of him. They're going to stick with the first guy unless there's an injury.
Yeah.
No matter how bad they play.
Absolutely. PPAS says, FYI, Ashton Daniels will be our QB whisperer. He could be working with Andrew Luck while completing Stanford. Okay. Maybe. Interesting. TK says, wish Ashton was here in the spring coming summer. TK also says Ashton won a state championship at Buford in Atlanta's highest classification. He has skills. I do think he has skills.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's a talented guy.
I don't know that you really get a Power 4 offer and you're lacking in talent, right? You might not be the best quarterback that's available and 5-star, blah, blah, but you're going to have talent. The question is, do you go to a place where those talents are being utilized? Are you getting the opportunities for those talents to be utilized? Does the system fit what you do? Like, there's just a bunch of things that have less to do with your talent and more so to do with things that you can't control that dictate a lot of those things for a lot of players at a lot of positions.
Yep. Let's see here. Daniel Denny says if Auburn wants to beat Georgia or Alabama, 2025 is the year to do it. These games come home to Jordan-Hare, and dare I say Kalen DeBoer is floundering a little bit?
I mean, there's definitely some there's some cracks in the armor showing, right? Where you feel as if they're not fully the juggernaut that they have been previously. But this was inevitable. Like this is the inevitability that fans of that school did not want to accept, is that, listen, man, you don't go from the best ever and just reload that, bro. That's not how to that doesn't happen like there are very few examples of you lose the best coach ever and the next guy is good too. Just doesn't happen, man.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I predicted this downfall, and since media days, I have been on this train, trying to explain to every Bama fan that the fall off was inevitable and that they should prepare themselves because this guy is definitely not Nick Saban. People were talking about, oh, he's more of a player's coach, and guys feel like they can come talk to him. The hell?
Yeah, I mean, it's great if you're looking for a therapist, but
who cares? The last dude won like 8 cajillion championships. Yeah. There's no way that we're saying this dude's likability gives him some sort of edge.
Man, because like people like to talk to him. Okay.
So
hey, listen, I'm not. Look, Kalen DeBoer's a good coach, right? Like, I'm not crapping on his coaching ability, but I think it's weird.
He's an 8-9 win coach in the SEC, maybe.
Yeah. I think it's weird to think that it's gonna translate automatically from Nick Saban to like, because they are so different. That means the kind of players they recruit are going to have different personalities that respond to different kinds of things. It means that if you are a guy going into that program under Nick Saban and you were like teetering on the edge of having discipline issues, the structure that you get provided with Nick Saban keeps you in line.
Yeah.
The friendly, hey man, we come and have a little conversation, that allows you to be outside of the bounds of what you would normally be. So you have to recruit different kinds of players that can respond to. You got to recruit guys that don't require that level of strictness. And I don't know how much of that was already on that roster for them like that. So it's just not going to work, man. Like it's going to take some years to get the right guys in there. The transfer portal is going to help, but it's not going to be this just turn it over and it's going to be right where you left it. Nah, that ain't how that works, man. Like,
yeah. It was, man, losing to Michigan, the way they lost to Michigan, seeing them turn on Jalen Milroe. I tried to tell my good friend DJ Jones over at Sports Visions, he was ready to hand Milroe the Heisman after the Georgia game. And I was like, all right, like he had a good game and we know what he's capable of athletically. But yeah, no, I'm still not there. I stuck to my guns, Ike, no matter what. The storm came at me, the Milroe storm, and I stood tall in the wind. And I said, no, this guy is mid. And it bared out. So
Jalen Milroe's talented, man. He's not Heisman Trophy talented.
He's a mid quarterback, though. He's a talented athlete. He's a mid quarterback.
Yes, yeah. That's fact.
Yeah. Those two things can be true. And also F Oregon. I just gotta throw that in there.
Especially random shot that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. While we're on the subject of football,
Ohio State drumming them up brought lots of joy to my heart. JJ Brand says, did y'all see the video of Bruce Pearl watching the congratulations / comments from former players and star coaches? I did not see this.
I did see it, and
was it on social media?
Yeah, the Auburn Basketball account put a tweet out, and it's on the Instagram as well. It was basically guys congratulating him on getting the record for most wins for a head basketball coach in Auburn program history. Amazing feat by Bruce Pearl. Again, Auburn not some juggernaut of a basketball program, but the way that he transformed the program from a perennial cellar dweller in the SEC to a perennial powerhouse it's not something
Incredible.
that you can just take lightly. Like that wasn't, and that was a risk. Like, he's a good coach, but it wasn't guaranteed to work. And then you get here and there's a controversy early with the whole Chuck Person thing, and you're like, crap, here we go. And he weathers that storm, and he eventually number one team, Final Four team, like all of those things. He's on the precipice right now of having another number one ranked team within the regular season. Bruce Pearl he's that guy, man. He's that guy.
He's that guy for sure. Look, he's the best coach in Auburn history. I said this on social media. Build a statue if you ask me already. I know the guy he just passed has his name on the old Coliseum when we were in school there, Beard Eves. But look, they call it Pearl Arena. Get his name on something.
Yeah.
Build a statue. Daniel Denny. Sorry, we did this one already. Chess Rockwell says, will Henderson play or expected to redshirt?
I think it's too early to know the answer to that. I think spring will tell a lot about what the distribution of snaps are going to be for running backs. But Alvin Henderson's supremely talented, and I think he'll be given an opportunity to earn some playing time. I don't think they want to necessarily redshirt him, but at the same time, it's going to be about how they distribute snaps. Because you got to think about it. Last year, they ran 3 running backs, right? And they have 3 running backs with more experience in front of him right now. So I don't know if he'll get that opportunity, but we'll see.
Yep. James Barnett, member for 47 months. That's 1 month shy of 4 years as a member. I think Auburn is about to be the new Bama and Georgia. This roster is legit and can compete this season. Just my opinion.
We'll see. We will see. Those teams supremely talented. Auburn supremely talented, but they have arguably the best head coach ever, and the guy who is like heir apparent to being the best next guy running their programs. The question is, can Hugh Freeze be that kind of guy?
Correct.
Not can you have that much talent. Penn State teams have been talented forever. Michigan, Ohio State, talented forever. They have not built. Ohio State's been up there perennially. Michigan back and forth in and out of that. But just having a bunch of talent does not make you a competing for national championships every year type of program. That's not what the formula is. Go get a bunch of talent. You got to have the guy at the helm that can steer you there. To this point, Coach Hugh Freeze hasn't won anything. Like, let's just be honest about it. He hasn't won a darn thing, and he's got some work to do to get to the place where he's even in that same kind of conversation.
Agreed. Look, let's talk some Auburn basketball before we get out of here. Auburn defeated Texas in what ended up being a thriller. There down the stretch. They were up as much as 20 points, right? At some point in that game, and gave up the lead, but hung on for the win on the road. You did a post game. I didn't get a chance to weigh in on the post game, but this is 100% Bruce Pearl's best team. This has a chance to be the best team in school history, and you're going to have games like this if you're going to win a championship. There are going to be games where what was the kid's name last night? His name I'd asked you before. Kaluma. He played out of his mind last
30 freaking 4.
If he doesn't do what he did, this is like a 30 piece.
Yeah, no, right, like, Auburn blows them off the freaking floor if Kaluma doesn't drop 34. Like, and he was making everything, dog. Like, and it wasn't like it was bad defense. It was just he was just making shots, bro.
Yeah. He was unreal last night, actually. Auburn pulls out the win. But the story, again, to me, is Janai Broome. Janai Broome is put his picture next to consistency in the dictionary right now. Janai Broome is having a season for the ages, Ike. And there was a questionable technical foul toward the end of the game. Again, before we started recording, you and I talked about this. I don't think that I understand what he called. I thought that they could have swallowed that whistle under the circumstances.
For sure.
You missed Mr. Referee. You missed the call.
Yeah.
He got hit
and it was an obvious
in the face
call right in front of you.
Yeah.
It was a
And
super obvious call right in front of you. So, like, what were you watching at the time?
yeah, I don't understand. I did not understand that. It was a missed call, and he has the right, I think, as college basketball's best player, to argue that.
Yeah.
Right, and they should give him that respect. See, he's playing the game at a high level right now. I just think you're missing calls like that down the stretch. It's not good for the game. And then when you miss a call like that, you create a situation where the player is. These are highly volatile situations with these athletes emotionally, where they're laying it all out on the line. And your job is to make the call in the moment.
Yeah.
Now, Auburn won the game, but that could have been a pivotal moment in the game.
No, it absolutely contributed to that game getting closer than it should have been in
Yeah.
the end. Like, you get 2 free throws plus the possession. So it ended up being a 4-point swing right there when Auburn was, I forgot, they were up 10, I think, at the time. I forgot what the actual differential was, but you had pushed it out to a double-digit lead again with the amazing shot, by the way, for Broome to, like, collect himself and then hit, like, a fadeaway jump shot from, like, 15 feet. But yeah,
that jumper was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, whew, boy, it was the type of shot you would not expect him to be able to hit when he got to Auburn. Right? Yeah, he's developed his jump shot every year he's been here.
For sure.
Added the 3-pointer last year. He's gotten even better. He's dangerous from the outside, but he just stepped back and drained one in a guy's face. And it's one thing to sink those shots open, but now he's hitting them contested. He's hitting these shots contested. It was fun watching Broome last night. Now, one of the things that Bruce Pearl has talked about, it's been the division of minutes with his team. And if you want heavy minutes, you may not want to come play for Bruce Pearl. But this is not holding up for Janai, man. 36 minutes he played last night.
Yeah.
He's the only guy they're not taking off the floor if they don't have to.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's playing heavy minutes this year. I think that was part of the plan. They developed a lot of what they're doing around his skill set. And he's impacting the game in a bunch of ways, not just going out there and scoring. It's clear he worked in the offseason on his stamina, because I remarked about this earlier in the season. There were points in times last year when he was playing 28 minutes and looking extremely tired at the end of games. He's playing 30 plus minutes in some games right now, and he's looking like he's getting stronger as the game is going on. Janai Broome is listen, if anybody is arguing anybody else is the player of the year, you're trolling. Like, you're absolutely trolling to say that, because it's Janai Broome, and then everybody else is a distant second, if you even want to put a second tier there. So yeah, Janai's that guy right now, and I'm happy for him. He made the decision to come back an additional year, and it's paying off big time for him.
Yeah, absolutely. His stat line last night, 20 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals, and only 1 turnover. Janai Broome last night. But outside of Janai, there are some good things happening elsewhere on the court. Denver Jones has really raised his game these last 4 or 5 games. His stat line, and he doesn't need a bunch of shots to impact the game. 3 for 6 last night, and he scored 10 points. So he scored in double digits. So 50% from the field. He hit a 3, had a monster block there. I had to double take to make sure it was Denver that had the block.
Yeah.
But boy, he rose up and absolutely stuffed that shot there. Your thoughts on Denver and the game that he had?
Yeah, Denver Jones, other than the 1 turnover late in the game out of the double team and the full court trap, Denver had a good game. He has turned into a solid point guard for Auburn, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. He can still shoot the rock just as well as he was supposed to be when he came in, but he's been a better facilitator this season, stepping into that point guard role. And defensively, he's locking up guys, man. He's absolutely making it hell for other guards to be able to try to get into whatever offense that they're trying to run, and making guys who are good scorers have off nights.
Yeah, absolutely. Miles Kelly, again, 50% from the field, 4 of 6 from 3.
Yeah, he was bombing. He was bombing
He was
yesterday. It was good to see him get another one of those games under his belt after he was kind of off and on a little bit, but last night he came out ready and he was absolutely making them pay early.
It felt like every time Texas attempted a run, Miles Kelly would just hit a big shot.
Yeah.
And completely take the air out of the arena. There, it's what an addition, right? Miles Kelly comes in from Georgia Tech, the sharpshooter that you maybe haven't had in the last few years since 2019, right?
Yeah.
Miles
Bryce,
Kelly is an absolute sniper out there on the court.
yeah, he is I think he is. I don't know how you're gonna replace a guy like that, but he's one of those missing link kind of guys where it's like you need a three, figure out a way to get Miles Kelly open. Like that's basically the end. Like we need a big 3-point shot, figure out a way to get Miles Kelly open. And he's a guy who doesn't need a lot of airspace to get it. So, and Auburn hasn't had that. Like, let's be like Denver Jones was the closest you would have had to that last season, but Auburn, to your point, has not had that since that 2019 team. A guy who you could just count on, man. Like, man, he can put 4 or 5 of them in the air and change the trajectory of a game really quickly.
Yeah, so many superlatives. Todd Pettiford obviously, hit a lot of big shots last night in key moments, but his energy, his defense, he scored in double figures. Ja'Kai Howard, 3 of 4 from the field with some tough buckets there. Auburn was making tough buckets in the paint last night. So as much as we praise the shooting, they have not relied on the outside shot. They've not become reliant on just bombing it from the outside, which you see a lot of teams fall into that trap. It is a good balance. I've talked to Bruce Pearl about this. I've asked him about this in post games about shot selection. Their shot selection feels amazing. I mean, just good decisions are being made about when to take tough shots, when to take chances, and not abandoning getting the ball down low to your bigs and letting them affect the game inside out there. So Ja'Kai Howard is coming along there. The only thing, Auburn shot 47.5% from the field as a team. Chaney had a little bit of an off night shooting.
He did. It was probably the worst game from Chaney Johnson this year.
Yeah, he had a little bit of an off night, but that did not stop him from going out and getting 2 absolutely monster blocks. He had assists, rebounds, steals, again, filling up every part of the stat sheet Chaney Johnson did in some kind of way to contribute. There are not a lot of guys that just didn't contribute. Everybody who touched the floor. Chris Moore gives you good defense. He had a couple of questionable sequences out there. But it was good to see him get time. And then last but certainly not least, Chad Baker-Mazara, another guy shooting 50% from the field. Chad Baker had critical buckets and critical moments. He poured in 16 points, 2 blocks, 1 steal. He had a monster block as well, too. 3 assists and 5 rebounds, Chad Baker-Mazara. Now, we said this before. I'm going to say it again. When Jabari and Walker were here, we said, okay, Jabari's the best player, but Walker is Auburn's most important player. Still feels like Chad Baker-Mazara is Auburn's most important player. They may lose this game last night without him.
Yeah, I mean, Chad, big bucket in late in the game, a couple of clutch free throws. At points, like I said, he and Miles Kelly it felt like when Auburn just needed something, were the ones that were able to produce it. So it was a good effort from Chad to just, especially second half, like he didn't have any points in the first half of this game. All 16 of his points came in the second half. So when Texas was trying to claw their way back in the game, Chad was the guy that was just consistently giving Auburn buckets. So, yeah, man, you already said it. Most complete team, best team that Bruce Pearl has put together. They have the interior, they have the outside shooting, they've got free throw making, shot making. Like they just do everything that you need to be able to do to be a good team. They can defend, they can defend the paint, block shot. They just do everything. So it's going to take a Herculean effort by teams to be able to get them up off the court this year.
Yeah, look, Auburn 14-1 on the season. With a sole loss coming at Cameron Indoor by 6 points to the number 2 Duke Blue Devils. Sorry, I don't know why that was so hard to say. Their upcoming schedule, they're at South Carolina in 3 days. And then they've got Mississippi State at home on the 14th, Georgia, and then Tennessee comes to town. They will certainly have been knocked off their number one perch by the time they get to Neville Arena. You've got LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and then that matchup with Florida now is looming large on February the 8th to maybe decide who's king of the hill in the SEC here. I don't think that Bama forget those guys. I think they're frauds. Personally, I think they're frauds this year.
I don't know. I mean, define fraud. When you say fraud, they're
defensively. I just don't think that they can score. Sure, they can score. But they're not a complete team, and they're high ranking. I don't get I think they're clearly a flawed team, and they keep ranking them up there and acting like they're this and that. I just think they're frauds. They're not a bad team. They're not a terrible team.
No, they're a good team. Yeah, that's why I said when you say frauds, what is the expectation versus the reality? So
yeah, one of the best teams, top 5 teams in college basketball right now. No, I don't think that Alabama is a top 5 team in college basketball right now.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't watch enough college basketball for teams outside of the SEC to say that they're but they're good though. They're definitely good. But I agree with you about their defense. I just think I want to see Bama play against some more quality competition and engage them in those games, because they did well in the Houston game. They got beat by Purdue though. And so it's just like they've been up and down in some of this stuff. So, and then definitely want to see them on the road a little bit more to see what they're beating the brakes off of South Carolina, but they're going to win this game going away. But South Carolina doesn't look like they're very good. So that doesn't tell me much.
Yeah. So, look, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch Auburn basketball this year. They've got to get that number 1 seed. And we know from last year, this committee doesn't give a flying flip about what happens in that SEC tournament. So you need to establish yourself in the regular season. Auburn ran roughshod through the SEC tournament and landed a 5 seed last year. I still think it's ridiculous. We've seen some absolutely atrocious omissions based on what's happened in these conference tournaments, but I feel like they've set the precedent that what happens in the conference tournament doesn't matter other than winning it.
Yeah. I mean, even winning it didn't seem to impact Auburn's seeding. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it only matters if you weren't going to be a tournament team.
Right. Correct. Yeah. If it was going to be your auto qual, then yes. But outside of that, it doesn't matter. You're correct.
Man. So the regular season really important. Before we get out of here on the women's side, it's been tough going for Johnny Harris's squad, but there may be help on the way next week. So look, they've got to get it together. This was a team that started 0-3 in conference last year and went on a run to make the NCAA tournament. I'm not putting that past them again this year. Some things may be coming together. It's been a rough go as far as injuries are concerned for Johnny Harris's squad, with Talia Scott obviously only playing 2 games so far this season. Deanna Gaston is all SEC right now.
Yeah, she is one of the best players in the conference, and there's a lot of good players in the conference. But for her to have no help and she's still putting up the numbers she is, there are very few players in this conference that have no help in putting up good numbers. There's some players who put up good numbers with a bunch of help around them, but there aren't very many that, and that's no disrespect to the other young ladies. There's just no other offensive threats on this Auburn team, and she's still going out there putting up 30-point games. She's a problem. If she had a Robin, then they'd be conquering Gotham. But,
that Robin was supposed to be Talia Scott, and hopefully we'll see her back this season. But to underscore what you mean about her, 22.7 points per game so far this season. Izzy Higginbottom, Arkansas, they've got a matchup coming with Arkansas, is the conference's leading scorer at 23.8 points per game. So she's just a point out of being first here. We'll see. That's going to be a matchup to watch. But Johnny Harris has some work to do with her squad this year to get them back in contention. And it's just not out the realm of possibility. It's going to take one of her best coaching jobs. Injuries are tough, and they've hit Auburn hard so far this year. But again, there was some anticipation of needing help that may come through. And again, next week, I'm excited to see what they put on the floor there. So some potential excitement coming on the women's side. Look, let's get some more comments before we get out of here today. I want to thank everybody for joining the midweek report. Chess Rockwell says, just want to say, appreciate y'all at the War Report, War Damn Eagle. We appreciate you too.
Yes, sir.
Chess, we're here for you every week, multiple times a week with these lives and the Auburn Express, plus all the game time stuff Ike is doing. It's hard work, but somebody's got to do it. JJ Brand says the watch party was nice, Ike. Again, lots of hard work going on there, but it seems like people are really liking the watch parties. Tim the Toolmain Taylor says Ike is hilarious during the watch parties. If we weren't there, he'd be cussing up a storm. I know it. Facts. I can.
Let me tell y'all, the only reason I was not cussing is not because y'all was watching, because it's behind the paywall. I would cuss if I needed to. It's because my son was still in the next room. If that was the only thing preventing me from cussing, but yeah, the profanity flows fluidly. I have no problem with that.
Harvey McCreary the third says, does Chadmaker Mazzara get an extra year because of Diego Pavia ruling?
That is something that Coach Pearl has talked about a couple of times. Denver Jones and Chad both could potentially get an additional year because of that.
That would be crazy.
Denver started his first year as a JUCO before he went to FIU, and Chad played that year last year as a JUCO, so they both could get an additional year.
Give them the bag to stay.
Listen, this is a legitimate conversation. Do you think either of those guys has a shot at getting drafted? If not, why not come back and play another year in college?
Bag to stay. Oh my goodness. I've talked about this repeatedly on almost every single media forum I can. What you're seeing in college basketball is that it's hard when you lose your best player every year and that player is a freshman. And so you're not having a chance to keep guys in your system. And what you're seeing here is Bruce Pearl went to the D2 level to find guys to come in and play, and he kept them in his system. And now at their peak, right, when they're seniors and you've grown them up and they've developed their bodies, and now you have one of the most senior teams in college basketball to mix in with some young talent here and there, and you've got a squad. And doing that has become increasingly difficult. So you've got to hold your team together. We've seen some monster teams come through Kentucky. That class that had John Wall, I think all 5 of those guys went on to the NBA in 1 year. It was at least 4 of them. Was Karl Anthony Towns on that team, or dude, they had
can't keep up with who is with Kentucky.
Yeah, they're losing their best players every year, which is absolutely nuts. This is what you have a chance to do, I think, with NIL. Keep guys in school longer, man, and increase the quality of basketball that we're seeing at this level. It's an amazing opportunity. Ben Bloodworth with the super chat. Does Auburn go into the Tennessee game 5-0?
So you got South Carolina, Mississippi State, Georgia as the next 3. I've said this a couple of times. That Georgia game is the one that worries me the most. Mississippi State is a really good team. You're lucky, not lucky, but you get them at home. And so I'm less worried about Auburn at home versus Mississippi State, even though I think Mississippi State is a really good team. But I don't know. I think I honestly feel like one of those might be a loss, either Mississippi State or Georgia.
You're going to lose one.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to lose a game at some point in time anyway, because that's just kind of how it works. And you hope you lose those before you get into tournament time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if you go undefeated into that game.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it, though.
I would love to see it as well, too. It's going to be interesting to see again. South Carolina, Mississippi State, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Auburn's next coming games. So you've got 4 road games in that stretch. And 3 home games. So not a lot of games at Neville over the next month. But you've got to find some wins there. Going to be fun to see Oklahoma come to the Plains there as well, too. Looking forward to watching Auburn beat down Ole Miss. Don't like them at anything. So that will be fun. I think that's it for comments. Before we get out of here, just want to make sure we thank our sponsors, our title sponsor, The Rage Room. Visit them in Opelika or in Birmingham. great sponsors of the War Report. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. If you haven't done it already, please do it. Sign up as a patron. Hit that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate our community for doing that. And check us out on podcasts. Every single podcast network, the War Report is there, bringing you lots of great audio-only content. Whether you're on your way to work or at the gym or on your way to school, the War Report has you covered with the Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, and Just the Sec pods, doing the Lord's work. Guys, you know the deal. Share this video on social media at the War Report, hashtag get your weight up. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Those likes and those comments really help us out. We need you guys to continue to do that. Share on social media. Follow us at the War Report on X and Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with even more content, and we'll be covering all these games. It's the Auburn Express here with you guys a few days a week. We appreciate our community for joining us. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.